What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Alpha Girl Confidence Podcast. I'm your host, Shay Haddo, and a little disclaimer before we get into this episode. As you can probably hear, I'm sick, I'm very congested, and so I'm fighting through this right now. So today's episode probably isn't going to be too lengthy because I don't know if my voice will allow it, but also apologies for any throat clearing or sniffling or anything like that on the audio of this podcast. But regardless, the show must go on. And so in today's episode, we're going to be talking about something that I think is going to be really, really valuable and really relevant for this time in your life as school is starting back up. You're getting back into your training schedules, your practice, your games, all that kind of stuff, extracurriculars. And so in today's episode, I want to talk about how you can spark motivation in both sports and school or whatever else you want to spark motivation for in your life. And so the important thing to understand about motivation is that motivation comes and goes. Motivation is like a roller coaster. Some days we have it, some days we don't. And it's a lot of the time we expect motivation to just like always be up here and always be high, and that's just not the case. So think of motivation as being kind of up and down. It comes and goes. But discipline is what is the more steady thing, right? Discipline doesn't really go up and down. It's that thing that keeps you steady. And so I want you to think of motivation as the thing that sparks the fire, and discipline is the fire that keeps on burning. Okay. So eventually we want to learn how to build discipline so that we're not always on this up and down roller coaster. Excuse me. And so we're going to talk about how to build that motivation so that we can spark the fire so that we can use that motivation to then build discipline. All right. So we're going to talk about kind of this three-step process, or kind of like this formula. I did not come up with this formula. It was in a book that I read by Jim Kwik. So credit to Jim Kwik. Where we're going to go into these three things that you can implement and use for anything in your life when you're trying to be more motivated. So the number one thing, and I talk about this with my girls in my coaching program, Beyond the Athlete, all the time. And this is a topic that we talk about a lot. But number one, the most important thing, the first thing that needs to be addressed is your purpose. Right? You must have a why. You must have a deep purpose if you want to be motivated to do something. So let's say that you want to be motivated to do your homework, right? As we all kind of struggle with that times. So I want you to figure out, well, why do you want to do your homework? Like, what is the purpose? Like, was it to get good grades? Okay, good. That's sort of superficial, but like, okay, get good grades. Now, why do you want to get good grades? Because I want to make myself proud. Why do you want to make yourself proud, right? So when you figure out the first purpose, that first thing that you say with why is usually going to be fairly superficial. So then keep asking why. Every time you ask why, you're going to get deeper and deeper and deeper into your purpose. Because the reality is, if you don't have a purpose for doing something, right? If you don't have a purpose for doing your homework or training on your own, you're never going to be motivated. And like, why are you even doing it, right? So same thing with, let's say you want to go out and run sprints to get faster. Well, why do you want to get faster? Just so that you can look cool on the field? No, like so that you can be a better player. Well, why do you want to be a better player? Because I want to play college. Well, why do you want to play in college, right? So kind of digging down into your purpose. The deeper your purpose, the less your flame is going to flicker and kind of go out. So really spend some time on this and go deep into your purpose. Like, why is this thing really, really important to you at a core level, not a superficial level? Okay, that's number one. Number two is you have to address your energy. Okay, so if you're tired, if you're lacking sleep, if you're not well fed, whatever it is, if you don't have the energy, you're never going to be motivated. Even if you have a strong purpose, but you're dead tired, you're not going to be motivated to do something. Now, if you have discipline, then that's a different story, and your discipline is going to be like, okay, I can go do this thing even though I don't feel like it and even though I'm tired. But to build the motivation, it's really important that we have the energy. So what are the key components of energy? Number one is sleep. Like if you're not getting enough sleep, you're not going to have the energy. You're not going to have the energy to be motivated to go do anything, to do your homework, to train on your own, to do your dishes, to do your chores, to do your extracurriculars. So you have to pay attention to your energy management. Sleep is number one. Other components of it are obviously nutrition, movement, sunlight, hydration, right? Like those kind of things. And these are just the main core things, but other parts of your energy are like the people you hang out with, that affects your energy, right? How you are with yourself affects your energy if you're always negative or, that kind of stuff. So really tap into and focus on the core things to start, right? How is my sleep? How is my nutrition? Am I spending enough time outside, moving outside? Am I, hydrating in the right way? Those kind of things. And if you make sure those things are locked in, then the energy, you can kind of check that part of the equation. And the cool thing is with all of these steps, you all have control over these, right? Like I know your energy is going to wane at times, but you do have control over your energy. You just got to be aware of like where it's lacking and start to experiment to make that energy go higher, right? So that's number 2. Number 3 is small, simple steps. Okay, small, simple steps. So instead of saying I have to go and I have to run 10 sprints, 10 steps, that'd be easy. Instead of saying I have to go run 10 sprints, small, simple steps. I like to use the phrase chunk it down. So instead of being like, oh man, I got to go run 10 sprints. No, you're like, okay, I'm going to put on my shoes. I'm going to go to the park. That could be your first small, simple step. Once you're at the park, you're going to say, you know what? I'm here. I got my shoes on. I'm ready. I'm going to run 1 sprint. Right? You run 1 sprint. Once you run 1, you're probably going to run another and another. And by the time you know it, you're done with your 10. Why? Because you took 1 step at a time. There's a saying that how do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time. You don't eat an elephant all at one time. You eat an elephant 1 bite at a time. So you do your homework. You have a 5-page paper due and you think, oh my gosh, how am I going to write this 5-page paper? Well, yeah, when you think about it like that, you're not going to be motivated. But if you can just say, you know what, I'm just going to write the first paragraph today. Once you write the first paragraph, you're in a mood, right? You're in the zone. You're probably going to write more. Let's say you got to read a book. Instead of reading this whole chapter that I was assigned, I'm just going to read 1 page. And once you read that 1 page, you're probably going to read the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and by the time you know it, you're done. So instead of looking at this big mountain of things you have to do and this big mountain of a task that was assigned to you or even that you just want to do, break it down into the smallest simple step that you can. So smallest, but also simple. So don't make it complex. When we make things complex, our motivation completely burns out. So make it small, make it manageable, and make it simple. And when you do that, it builds momentum, right? So the key with this is it builds momentum. The more momentum you have, the more motivated you're going to be. It's that spark that keeps lighting the fire and the fire's burning. And if the fire burns for long enough and you keep that motivation up for long enough, it's going to turn into discipline. And then no longer you're going to need to feel like doing something to do it, but you're just going to be able to do it. But I wanted to start off with motivation first because a lot of times we don't know how to get motivated. And if we don't know how to get motivated, then we're not going to know how to get disciplined. All right. So I want you to use this, whatever it is that you're kind of struggling with right now in terms of like, oh, I want to be motivated to do this thing, but I'm just having a hard time finding it. I want you to sit down with these 3 steps. Okay. The purpose, go deep into your purpose, figure out your energy. How is your energy? Is there something that can be changed? And then number 3, figure out how you can break that thing into the smallest simple step that you possibly can to just get started. The hardest part of doing anything is just getting started. And once you've gotten started and doing that thing, the act of actually doing it is so much easier. So if you can just kind of break through that wall and just start, then you can have the momentum to continue to go, right? And the more motivated you are, the easier it is to then be motivated, right? That's how momentum works. And then you can build discipline from there by building a habit, right? But let's start with this spark. Let's start with that motivation. Take this 3 steps through whatever you want to be motivated to do. This is something that I do as well. I do, and I teach the girls in my program to do. So I hope this was helpful. If it was, please share it with a friend. We've got a really awesome episode with an awesome guest coming out next week. So tune in for that. Stay tuned for what's coming next. And again, I appreciate you listening to the episode, and I'll see you next week.